And we are rolling. I'm in my tiny space here in my room, but we'll make do. So yesterday, while I was walking, I asked about concerns that you guys might have. Since PM just announced that there's an extension of the circuit breaker for another 4 weeks, which means the gyms will be closed for a total of 2 months. And the question is, will strength loss happen? I'm here to answer that today. So before I start, let me touch on the 3 factors of strength. You guys need to know this by heart. It's one of the basics and it will help you a lot in solving problems, figuring out why you're stalling and all of that. So first is physical. Next is mental and technical. So those are the 3 factors of strength. So let's get to it. With the home-based training, we're trying to replicate the usual stress on the muscles as in the gym. But of course, it will never be the same. There's less specificity due to having no bar. But always remember that we can add resistance. Commonly used is resistance band because it's the cheapest and the most accessible. We can add in tempos, or we can even double loop the resistance band. Another thing that's commonly used during this period of time is isometrics. So why isometrics? Isometrics help us to keep the neural efficiency by producing the same level of force, basically. Isometrics applies maximum contraction of the muscles. So while having bands and isometrics in your home-based training, there isn't the same amount of stress, then how? Then I get a lot of questions like, will my technique feel unfamiliar? Will my groove feel very off? Well, yes, to a certain extent, because you haven't touched the bar in 2 months. But there's also a way to reduce that, and that is using the power of visualization. I talked about it on CoachbyMARC's Instagram's latest post. You guys can go and check it out. So basically, it's incorporating visualization into your home-based training. And with that, it may feel a little less unfamiliar when you're getting back. But of course, do remember that you won't get back to where you were before the gyms were closed. Say, for example, if you're wrapping out triples at 85% before the gyms were closed, don't expect to go back on your first week and do the same, because I believe there was a progression leading up to the 85% for triples. So likewise, you cannot just go in and expect the first week to be like that. Of course, it will take some time, and I cannot give you a definite answer of how much time it will take, because it really depends on your skill level. Say, for example, if you're a beginner/intermediate lifter, of course it will take faster as compared to an advanced lifter, because the rate of progression is faster. But there's also another factor to consider, which is advanced athletes. They have a better muscle memory, so getting back their groove and technique will be a lot easier for them also. Next thing I would like to ask you guys is the quality of your home-based training. So I place heavy emphasis on this, and one thing I do with my athletes is not only to replicate the movements in the gym, but also to work their weaknesses. For example, if the bottom part of my squat or deadlift is weak, then I will break up the movement and make the exercise harder, like double loop or triple loop, and do half the range of motion. Things like deadlift to knees or squat, but just the bottom half. If you're looking at this from a more holistic point of view, working their weaknesses will benefit them in the long run when they get back to the gym. So finally, to answer the question, yes, you will not be where you were before the gyms were closed, but the whole goal of this series and your home-based training is to get you to a place where you're not too far off where you were before. Make your home-based training count. Tips I can give you is visualize and work on your weaknesses. And since it's extended for another 4 weeks, I would suggest you guys getting things like dumbbells that could really, really help. One feedback of the problems faced during home-based training that I get is motivation. So you're home all day and you just don't want to get to it. I get it. But what I would suggest to counter this is to make it a routine. So for example, myself, every 7 p.m. I'm going to train. You have to make it a routine. And that's the only way, because there's another 4 weeks of this and you want to make it count. Ultimately, stressing over something we cannot control bears no fruit. So let's just do whatever we can to the very best of our abilities. I can feel people wanting to get back into the gym, that eagerness, and it's so refreshing. I can't tell you how many times I hoped athletes will have this feeling. And the thing with taking a break is sometimes when we take time off to refocus, we re-energize, and people are more eager when we get back into the gym, and ultimately more meticulous in their training. So it's not all bad. Anyway, let's just make the best of it. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to talk more about how you can maximize this period of time and not let it go to waste. Through this, I hope that I can help you guys out to get back on track and be not too far from where you were previously. And I'm going to talk about food in the next episode. How to not pack on too much fat during this period. So stay tuned. Bye-bye.